Hi there. If you're a new viewer, welcome to my channel. And if you're returning, thank you very much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. This episode on Hackerrank challenges is about the zip function. We use the zip function in a lot of different use cases, and trust me, it's one of the best Python built-in functions. So I'll show you how to tackle this one, but before I do that, I really appreciate it if you share these videos with your friends if you think that's going to be useful for them, and also maybe like and comment in my video so that I can get more views. I really appreciate that. In order for me to better explain this problem, I've got a Jupyter notebook on the right-hand side of my screen, and I've got the Hackerrank on the left-hand side. This problem is called zipped, and that comes from the built-in functions part of Hackerrank challenges. So I will extend my screen to show you what the problem is, and then I'll show you how to tackle it. The task that we have been given is that the National University conducts an examination of n students. That's the number of students. You might have 20 students, 5 students whatsoever. N is the number of students, right? In X subjects, you might have math, science, biology. So you've got an X number of subjects. It can be 5, it can be 10. So N number of students and X the number of subjects. Your task is to compute the average scores of each student. Let me show you the input format because then it will save you more time and we will spend more time explaining the problem rather than reading the task. The input will come in this format. There will be one first line with 2 numbers in it. The first number is the number of students, so that's your N. And the second number is the number of subjects, and that's your X. The next number of lines will depend on this number of X, because if there are 3 courses, then 5 students, how much they scored in course number 1. 5 students, how much they scored in course number 2, and 5 students, how did they score in course number 3. So these 3 lines come from this number, and the number of scores per line comes from the number of students. Now I can go back and show this here. So you've got your student IDs. We're not going to accept IDs, but as an example, you've got 5 students. This is subject 1, for example, math. This is science, and this is geometry as an example. So once we accept that from the user, our job is to calculate the average score per student. So you can imagine that for a student number 1 who is sitting in the vertical left-hand side, 89, 90, and 91. I need to add them up, divide by 3, and that will be the average for that student, for example, for Ali. Now, let's see how we will tackle this in Python. I'll just make this screen smaller and go back to my Jupyter lab. Let me break it into multiple pieces. Piece number 1, we need to accept the number of students and the number of courses. So let's start with the number of students. I will call that n, and I will use the input function. If you haven't seen the video, the link is up the top right. I will use the input function to take the number of students. But we know that the input function takes things into a string format. I need to convert it to an integer quickly for it to be an integer. I will do exactly the same for X for the number of courses. So again, the integer of the input function. Now the question is this the right way to accept 2 inputs? Because when I look at this first line, they have been provided in one line separated by a space. So you have 5 space 3. This one will ask for 2 separate inputs in 2 different lines. So what I need to do, maybe I will get rid of this one, but not just now. Let me move it a bit down. I know that I will be taking n first and then x. What I will do, I'll say take n and x, both of them in one line, right? But there is a problem because this only accepts one input, and that one input can be mapped into one container. Think of a balance. So this side of the balance only works with one thing. Okay, that's only one thing. The other side of the balance, which is n and x, I am using 2 things. So Python will ask me, hey, how do you want to put one thing into 2 things? Which is right. That's a very right question. So let me delete that, and you will see that this is not going to be a very happy way of taking the input. So I'm not going to do that. Now I need another solution. Let me clear the output. I know that the user will give me 5 space 3. What if I break it with this space? So use this space to break it into 2 pieces so that I can feed it there. That should be easy. I need to use the split function. The split function looks at the space or any other separator that you define. For now, the default is a space and then breaks it right there. So if I run this now and I say 5 space 3, you will see that I am getting an error because it says, hey, the input that you have given me, which is 5 space 3, cannot be converted into an integer. So does this split function need to be inside here? I think so. So if I delete that one and then put it here, now it means that the input comes in, which is 5 space 3, then gets split based on that space, which is good, and it will be converted to an integer. Well, you would think so. 5 space 3. There is another error here that says, hey, you are giving me a string and you are splitting based on the space. It is still a string. It is still 2 pieces of string. You can't use this integer function like you have and convert 2 pieces of string at the same time. What we need to do is to use the map function. And if you haven't seen my video on the map function, I will leave the link up the top right. And then I will need to map the integer function onto both of them. It's like you can't paint 2 statues at the same time. You need to map this one and then that one. That's what we are doing right now here. Let me run it again, 5 space 3, and it looks happy. Let me print n. You can see that it's 5 and it's an integer. And if I print x, it's 3 and it looks happy days as well. So that was step number 1 or phase number 1. Now let's move on to how do we accept these ones? For now, I'm only concerned about accepting those ones. So how many rows are there? Well, there are 3 rows, or there are x rows, because the value of x defines how many different rows of courses there are. I will use a for loop. I can use an underscore in the range of x because that's the number of courses, and I can print the underscore. So in Python, we start counting from 0. That's why I'm seeing 0, 1, 2. I have 3 rows, which is good. Now you may ask, hey Amir, why did you leave an underscore there? Well, because of iteration, I can put iter and print iter. Whatever you want. You can put a Ferrari and then print Ferrari, and it will do the same. So Python doesn't understand what you're putting there. It's your job to put something that makes sense here. I'm not going to use Ferrari there, so I'll just put a underscore because it shows iteration among Python programmers. So I wasn't going to print. I need to accept an input from the user. The user will give me, hey, for mathematics, here are the numbers. For science, here are the grades. So if I delete this, what I will need to do right now is to define a container that the math comes in, the science comes in, the algebra comes in, and I store them for all students. I talked about a container. Have I defined a container? I haven't. And if you don't define the container, Python will ask you, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'll define a container called marks. You can call it anything you want. And as we go down, I will be taking a new course, if you like. So I will take a course and I will accept that through the input function from the user. And also remember that these lines are literally like these ones. They are a number of scores printed next to each other, separated by space. So I will use the split function. That's what I will do. And I will map them into float values this time, because sometimes in mathematics you might score 90, sometimes you might score 90.5. So those decimal points means that I have to use a floating number for me to capture that 0.5, 0.4, 0.7, and whatsoever. So I will take a course, right? And then I will append that course onto my marks the bigger container. So I have a smaller container called course. I accept from the user and I empty into the bigger bowl of marks. Let's run this and see if it's the right way to do it. I'll run that. And now Python says, okay, go ahead, give me the first course. I'll copy from here because I'm lazy and I'll paste it here, enter. The next one, I will copy from here and I will paste it here. And the last one, which is, for example, algebra, paste it here and you will see that we are all good. So if I show you marks, you should see that it's only a map function. So I might have done something wrong here. I was hoping to see these marks, but I can't see them. They're only map functions. The reason is when you are creating a map function, you need to convert to a data structure that is viewable. Map containers of a map function will be viewed in their hash values. So I need to show this as a list. I didn't really change much. I just converted everything to a list. Let's run that again and start over. This is not ideal, but I wanted you to understand that if you don't convert it to a list, you will not be able to see the inside of that object. So run that. Now I can see inside the container, the bigger container. Great. And now it's time for phase 3 or part 3. This is the most exciting part of this problem. I do encourage you to do heaps of exercise using the zip function. Zip function is such a powerful tool. Let me show you. I am not continuing with that problem right now. I'll do a quick intro on zip function and then I'll go back to the problem. The way the zip function works is that you use it as a function. So you use the brackets around it and then you can use multiple different objects to zip together. So for example, in this example, I will use 1 and 2 and I will use A and B. The way zip works, again, I can't really view it unless I convert it to a list. This is another built-in function. So it will take the first one from here and the first one from here and zip them together. The second one from here and the second one from here and zip them together. So you might want to see another one, maybe like banana and orange. If I zip the 3, you will see that I'll take 1, A, banana, which is the first one, and then 2, B, and orange, which is the second one. Now, what happens if one of them has more members inside it compared to the other ones? So make this one 3 of them. So 1, 2, 3 in the first one, 1, 2, and 1, 2. If I run that, the result will not really change because the zip function says, if I have enough, I will do. If I do not have enough, I will ignore. So it has enough for these 2 because there are 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. This one will be ignored. What happens if I add C here? Same result. Zip function says if I have enough, I will do. If I don't, I will ignore. Now that you have seen the zip function, I want to use it to zip this one, and this one together. This one, this one, this one together. So I'm doing this. I'm doing a sort of zipping between those lists. Let's see how I can zip them. I will try this one first. Hopefully that works. It's not red, but remember that I have to change it to a list. Let me change it to a list. And now you can see that I am getting somewhere. What I was asking was to get 89, 90, 91, and I got it. 90, 91, 92, and I got it. So I think zip function is a good idea here because now I can take them, average them, and print them. So what if I went ahead and said for student marks in this list, right? Let me see, I'm just gonna try it. Print student marks. Oh, look at that. So it does work in an iterative way. Now that I've got the student marks, all I need to do is to take the sum and then divide by X, by the number of courses. You will see that I'll get 90, 91, 82, 90, and 85.5. That's exactly the output that Hackerrank is expecting from me. So what I will do, I'll go up and start copying the code line by line into Hackerrank. So copy that, paste that here, and this last one, copy and paste. What I'll do, I'll extend the screen, I'll move my face and run the code. And fingers crossed, this will be the right one. So that was the test case. If I submit more test cases and they are all successful. So I really wish you success and happy learning in my channel. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, leave me a comment and let me know what other videos you want to see. Thank you.